I mean, it is so incredible to have Cass R. Sunstein openly writing this, and now in the executive czar position over information with billions of dollars at his fingertips. Again, he's openly calling for infiltrating, in his words, peaceful groups and getting them to engage in violence or talking about violence to run off peaceful members, and so they can then entrap and imprison the other people. I mean, this is so dangerous that they're in the open saying it. We know it's always, and then you read over what he calls for in the 29-page document. It's everything in COINTELPRO from the 70s and more. I mean, this is a blueprint to carry out these crimes and a reign of terror. And he's saying ban free speech and start arresting people outright if they criticize the government in any way. I mean, it's so outrageous, Paul.
As well as attacks on political opinions that the government disagrees with. And yeah, then you've got this other Obama appointee, Errol Southers, who is trying to get to head up the TSA. That's been resisted, but it could go through. And we did an article on this on Monday in which he said that people who are anti-government or even anti-abortion, if you disagree with abortion, then you're a threat. And he says that people who have those opinions should be treated as the main terrorist threat, which is exactly what's happening in airports when we think of people like the Ron Paul treasurer who was carrying some campaign money and some Ron Paul political material, and he was arrested and interrogated for an hour simply because he was carrying this political material. So they're identifying their political enemies who are the main threat to their agenda, to their tyranny, and that is libertarians and conservatives and basically anyone who has two brain cells to rub together.
They are actual Stalinists. I mean, there is no doubt that they're saying they want to take over and arrest us. I mean, these are outrageous criminals. It is outrageous. I mean, it is just, they've stolen $28 trillion publicly. They're openly engaged in fraud. They're robbing everything. Their health care bill raises taxes, cuts benefits, is a giant ripoff. They're just running around, putting surveillance in, naked body scanners in the courthouses, biometrically scanning everyone. I mean, there is no doubt, Paul, this is a bona fide tyranny.
And it's not as if this was just some idea that he was proposing. This has been going on for years. It's admitted that CENTCOM has been employing people to go into chat rooms, social networking forums, and engage bloggers who they say post incomplete or false information about the war on terror. And then the Pentagon in 2008 said they were expanding similar operations and setting up fake news websites that were designed to look like independent media, but instead would carry military propaganda. You know, Israel has admitted that they've got an army of bloggers to act as apologists for Israel's war crimes, and the U.S. Air Force announced that they had a similar program as well, and those links are all in the article. So it's been going on for years, and now this Obama czar is talking about expanding it rapidly and bringing in enforcement powers to ban opinions that they don't like.
Now, here's the good news. The Village Voice, Raw Story, the Rag Blog, Got Fascism. Obama advisor promotes cognitive infiltration. Your government appointees at work. Cass Sunstein seeks cognitive provocateurs. Then they quote him from the document. We suggest a distinctive tactic for breaking up the hardcore extremists who supply conspiracy theories. Cognitive infiltration of extremist groups whereby government agents or their allies acting either virtually on the internet or in real space and either openly or anonymously will undermine the crippled system of believers by planting doubts about the theories and stylized facts that circulate with such groups, thereby introducing beneficial cognitive diversity. And so what he's saying is, and he talks about going in and criticizing, saying things are lies, getting people fighting with each other, radicalizing groups. And it goes on. And Paul, when I was reading this 30-page document last night, or 29-page, it's everything we've experienced. It's everything we've gone through. How they talk about real groups that are exposing the power structure, we go out and pose as conspiracy theorists, and that's what COINTELPRO says. Oh, say they're making money to make people jealous. Say that they're working for the government, and just get all this infighting going on. But the good news is the left is waking up, the right's waking up. Now, they may be attacking our sites, but when you look at a big Raw story or something, every comment is arrest the bankers. Every comment, I mean, almost every comment. On some articles, it is every comment. The bankers are bad. They control both parties. On the Raw story, they're like, oh, my God, Obama's so bad. They own them all. What do we do? Finally, it's all shattering. And so they may have tens of thousands of hired people out doing this, but so many people are standing up and getting involved that it's not working anymore. I mean, that's really the good news here now, is that their own left, that was the victims of this in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, are now realizing just how evil this is and just how bankrupt the system is. So the good news is this isn't working, Paul.
No, it's not, and it only goes to show, I mean, people are always saying, what can we do? What can we do? We're powerless. We can't be powerless if these people are writing 30-page dossiers about how they're terrified of the impact we're having on society. And what's ironic about it is, if you go to my article about it today, the very first comment is an example of one of these people at work, and then, you know, the rest of the commenters on the page have fun with it, because instantly some moronic...
That's right. The second we post it, and before they would try that, Alex is a Fed, Alex is doing this, Alex is doing that, all the same stuff they did to break up groups in the 60s, that doesn't work anymore. Now they try saying first, like I posted first to control the debate, or they try to put nonsensical stuff, or they talk about Palladians and aliens, and we can go in and look at the IP addresses. They're using proxy server blockers, they're using virtual browsers, but it's the same IP addresses, and they'll have fake debates with each other, which he talks about, creating fake, false contexts. Again, they talk about being map makers of the mind, setting the narrative. Again, controlling the confines of the debate, turning us all against each other, radicalizing us so we're not palatable mainstream. I mean, it feels so good to be under mega attack by these people. Paul, no one on the web is attacked more than Alex Jones, Infowars.com, and PrisonPlanet.com, because we're #1 alternative sites. #1 site's Infowars, #2 site is PrisonPlanet.com. All these other fakes claim they're #1. We are #1 according to Alexa and every other major gauge. Shoutcast, the list goes on and on. And they're in a lot of trouble because they can't control the confines of the debate anymore, Paul.
Exactly, and their tactics are increasingly getting more and more ludicrous. One of my favorites is they'll go into an article and they'll just say, this is a fake news story. For example, I posted a New York Times story, you know, a few paragraphs from it with a link to the original where you can read it at the New York Times, about an 8-year-old boy being on a terror watch list. And one of the comments says, this seems like a fake news story. And that's one of the tactics they use as well. It's ad hominem.
Exactly. On YouTube, the same accounts set up the same ways will comment when we play a Herman von Rompuy clip, head of the EU calling for global government. I'll see the same person on hundreds of our videos working full-time, always the first comment. They're waiting, they're watching, and they just say, this is absolutely fake, to then have a debate about whether it's real or not, instead of people getting angry and getting informed and actually talking to each other. And he admits that in here. He says, confound them, claim it's not real, throw things in to confuse them. I mean, it is. Look at his smiling face, Paul. He just is so proud of what he's done.
And that's what COINTELPRO was all about. It was about neutralizing people so they felt powerless and eventually, you know, stirring up apathy so people would just disengage altogether. That's what he's talking about in this dossier about infiltrating conspiracy groups and promoting counter-misinformation, as he describes it. So he's savaging people for putting out conspiracies that aren't true, like, you know, sunlight being good for you. But then he says that when the government does it, it's fine. And they can ban our free speech to go along with it.
Well, Paul, thanks for the great report. We need more reports on the aspect of him saying we're going to ban free speech and tax newspapers or anybody that criticizes government. And he sets the precedent at, I say sunlight isn't good for you. And if you don't agree, you need to be banned or arrested. He picks something asinine to kind of put people off psychologically so they can set the precedent to ban anything they want, including 2 + 2 = 4. Nope, Sunstein says it equals 5. Huh.